Greetings, I'm Zachary Hepner. I'm pleased to share this Dvar Torah with you for Parashat Tazria and the day of the 29th day of Adar Sheni, a day of a total solar eclipse, passing through the United States from Mexico, going north, and also 6 months following the Yom HaShmini Gaza pogrom. Put this question in the back of your mind. Why tzarrat is the punishment? Tzarrat is the punishment for the violation of lashon hara. We'll get back to it at the end. Do you remember George Lucas's Return of the Jedi, when the Jedi Master Luke Skywalker scares the aboriginal ewoks to thinking that he possesses godly powers? Lucas must have gotten such an idea from Herge, and of course Herge must have gotten this idea from the book of Joshua. In Prisoners of the Sun by Herge, Tintin, the protagonist, will be sacrificed alive by the South American tribal Incas. As Tintin sits in prison, he reads in a newspaper fragment that a total solar eclipse will shortly pass through his location. Tintin cleverly asks for his sacrificial death to take place on such and such a day, and such an hour. As he is bound in what I call the akeidat Tintin mumbles prayers to the sun loudly enough for the Inca kom'rim to hear his prayer. When the sun started to eclipse and eventually disappear, the priests beg Tintin to have the sun returned. Minutes later, the sun emerges, and Tintin, of course, is released from his bondage. Great story, hey? Gotta love Herge. Guess what? Tintin did nothing because the eclipse was a natural phenomenon. It was sleight of hand. In Parashat Tazria, a mother's postpartum impurity is indeed hard to comprehend. She's just survived the partum experience, and her partum experience has imbued her with temple impurity. Later in Parashat Tazria and half of Parashat Metzora, the scale disease is also hard to comprehend. Such harsh impurity for a scale disease. Furthermore, until the scales are presented to the Kohen, there is no impurity. It requires the intervention of a Kohen, and without it, it's just a dermatological phenomenon. There's something integral about the connection with another person. In this case, it's the Kohen. The phenomenon of the solar eclipse is also hard to understand. Chazal don't have a word for it, but rather it's simply an affliction. Tanu Rabbanan, bishvil arba dvarim chama loke. Also, bishvil arba dvarim meorot lokin. It's not an affliction it's an affliction of the sun. It's not a thing in of itself, but rather it's an affliction. A solar eclipse occurs because the Av Beis Din is not properly eulogized. A na'ara ha'ma'orasa ba'ir cries for help, and she is not helped. Mishkav Zachor, and finally, 2 brothers who are murdered at the same time. This does not apply to all phenomenon. A blessing is to all natural phenomenon. A blessing is recited when the moon waxes. The key word with tzarrat is lavan, white, which also resonates with the moon, which is the lavana. V'seyar banega hafach lavan. V'im baheret levana hi. Seit lavan baor v'hi hafcha seyar lavan. As a metaphor, the moon is the moon and should be in its own domain without melding into another's domain. The Jewish people have skin and hair and its associated colors. Never the twain shall meet, or never the twain should meet. Similarly, the sun and the moon the sun is the sun's place, and the moon is in the moon's place, and never the twain should meet. Similarly, a mother is a mother, and a child is a child. Never the twain shall part or impart. Chazal saw great significance in the peace of natural scientific order and wanted to teach a significant part of symbolism. Listen to these 4 sins. Av Beit Din, Na'ara Hameorasa, Mishkav Zachor, and Shnei Achim. These represent 4 different kinds of boundaries and the violations of these boundaries. An Av Beit Din is the person who is the leader. You were never connected to him while he was alive because he was leading. One needs to realize that the Av Beit Din devoted his life to you. You should not fail to be connected to him when he is no longer leading. The Na'ara Hameorasa Ba'ir, she needs your help. You heard her cry, and you chose to remain distant at a time when she needed you to remain not distant. Mishkav Zachor, they want the connection, and you chose to tolerate the connection instead of creating the barrier. Shnei Achim, 2 people who are intricately connected from the same womb, and they are tragically separated at the same time from each other and from us and from their veil of life. Chazal saw significance in boundaries and connections and connected it to the solar eclipse. Be like E.M. Forster, but don't be like E.M. Forster. Connect when it is the right time to connect, and don't connect when it is the improper time to connect. Or saying it another way, always connect, and sometimes, on occasion, disconnect. The eclipse is such a symbol. The sun is there and reliable, and the moon is also present, and the moon is reliable. When they, on rare occasion, do connect, learn the E.M. Forster lesson of proper connections. Now back to the postpartum mother. When it was time to connect, she connected, but the partum experience was painful, yet entirely natural. However, the separation of 2 connected beings is a cosmic event. It's not like blowing your nose or exhaling. It's cosmically significant. Forever, mother and child are connected. Forever, they were once connected. Ubar yerech imo, but baby, not erech yerech imo. Yet they're connected forever in a different kind of way. And to loop it back to the scale disease of tzarrat, lashon hara is such a great lesson to learn. Connect, give, perform chesed, praise others, teach others, but don't scrutinize their faults. That is a violation of only connect. In fact, lashon hara is such a huge violation that the Metzora is cast out of the entire camp. We started with my hero Tintin. We touched upon the solar eclipse, the postpartum mother, the Tazria Metzora scale disease, which also resonates with the moon. I'd like to pause and connect with the Yom HaShmini pogrom and this week's Dvar Torah. There are brethren whose blood was shed together. There's the Na'ara Hameorasa Ba'ir crying, with nobody delivering her. And there's the Av, not being properly eulogized. They cannot see the sun. They cannot even see the moon. Take off your protective glasses during the totality of the eclipse. The sun is not visible, but look, the sun's corona is. During national or personal hester panim, the sun is indeed hidden. But look, stare, gaze, the corona is visible. Hester panim means hidden, but the presence of the corona reminds us that God never ever exercises full hester panim. I wish you a final day of v'nahafochu, smichat geula legeula. Shabbat shalom, and wishing you and us all gilui shchina.